Good day, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Safari Mack Explores Australia. I'm Safari Mack, your guide and host, helping you make connections to the wild. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're still hanging out with a dog, and of course, Dingo was his name-o. Of course, we could refer to his Latin name of Canis lupus dingo, but then again, I guess it's just not as catchy as bingo. Anyway, silliness aside, we're still hanging out with Australia's top mammalian predator, even if it's not an Australian original. Either way, I love these guys, and we're going to finish up our time, and be sure to stay tuned at the end of today's episode for the reveal of next week's special episode. But if you're new to my channel, hit that like and subscribe button, check out my Facebook page for content on conservation, and if you have a question about animals, or if there's an animal that you want me to do in the future, you just have to send me an email, which you will always find the link to down in my description below. But if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's get started with the wild things. Now, of course, being a member of the canine family, or the canids, you're probably thinking, these guys must bark. Believe it or not, they really don't. Or at least they don't do it in the similar way that domesticated dogs do. Their vocalizations are a little bit more like howls, chortles. They even are known to actually purr, which I find a little interesting and odd at the same time. A dog that can purr. I don't know that I want to hear that. But anyway, moving on. Wherever you find dingoes, they actually will come in different kinds of colors, especially depicting on where you would find them in specialized habitats. So, as you can see, some are black, some are a little bit more grayish, some are even a little more ginger colored, even a kind of golden yellow. This one almost makes me think of somewhat of a fox in a way, but either way, wherever you find dingoes, they come in different variants. And of course, they can be just mistaken as domesticated dogs. So if you see a dog, if you see anything out there, and if you're in Australia, just be sure to keep your distance. Another thing about these amazing creatures is that their wrists are actually rotate, which also helps their shoulder joints be extra flexible as they climb. That's right. Believe it or not, did you know that dingoes can climb trees? Or any other kind of material. So, a rock area, a tree. These dogs have amazingly flexible and good joints to help them be able to pursue prey of whatever they're hunting. And of course, it helps them give them a higher vantage point to be able to be on the lookout for prey. Now we get into the difficult part of the dingo's life, the problems and challenges. Now, there's a lot of threats that threaten the dingo's survival today. Despite being not a native to Australia, they still suffer persecution from humans. So there's trapping, culling, organized culling, hunting. Even the dingo fencing has not been a good impact on these creatures. Even contact with the domesticated dog is actually not good. Because it turns out, as Australia continues to be somewhat settled and human expansion continues, not only are they facing persecution by ranchers to protect their livestock, which, truthfully, they're not really after your livestock. Now, of course, it's not their fault that they're not. Of course, they will prey upon livestock every now and then, but that's not to say like they're doing it all the time. And who says that it was a live cow or a live sheep? May have been someone that had died recently, or even worse. Either way, farmers see these creatures as pests and will do anything to deter them and to protect their livestock, even by means of poisoning them. But the domesticated dog presents a major challenge for them. And now I'm not talking just in terms of rabies, but also because these guys share somewhat of a similar gene pool with domestic dogs. Like I said, not fully, but somewhat. They have been interbreeding with domesticated dogs, which is causing a bit of a gene pool pollution, which could ultimately result in the extinction of dingo subspecies as a whole. Now, let's go into their let's finally finish up with today's episode with their conservation measures. Now, we're trying to work hard to keep a kind of balance in check with these guys. So, I mean, yeah, like I said, like I've been saying, they're not an original Australian native, but they are. But since they have been introduced over 4,000 years ago, I mean, it's kind of hard to change things back to the way they were. It would be a bit of a collapse, actually. They've well established themselves that they are good top predators for many different Australian animals. So, what are some of these measures that we're taking? Well, Australian officials and the people are trying to really keep as much distance from them as of their domesticated dogs to prevent interbreeding, as well as some people even think about trying to keep dingoes as pets. Do you really want this kind of semi-wild dog as a pet? I don't think so. It just doesn't work. These are wild animals. These are not right to be kept as pets. They are meant to be doing what they have to in order to survive. Not be interacting with us humans all the time, or in a way, very little, as much as possible. What else are we doing? Farmers are trying to look into different ways of keeping these guys away from their livestock, which can include different kinds of control of keeping their livestock penned in, such as building a living fence, which doesn't have to be the barbed wire fence, but maybe a system of plants that maybe deter dingoes, as well as introducing other animals like this donkey here with the sheep. Donkeys, of course, are naturally aggressive animals and fiercely protective in their herds. So that is a way to deter them. It's even been proven with llamas. I bet you didn't know that. A little short story. A llama once entered into a sheep's pasture, and there was a predator stalking the sheep herds. The llama reacted though because it saw the predator in the grass, but thanks to its long neck. And so farmers are looking into other animals to introduce with their livestock to help keep them safe. They're even looking into other ways of using non-lethal measures, because the government still does use lethal measures, but not as much as you would think. They're trying to tone it down a bit so as to keep these guys safe, because all you really should do is to find what can deter them and what makes them sick to their stomach or stay away from this area. Some people have even built ponds so that the livestock don't have to go out too far from their homes to get water. So it all works out better when we look into other ways that doesn't always have to involve lethal measures. Now, for starters, I think it's safe to say that the dingo really has earned a place here in Australia. And of course, like I said before, this once was an invasive species, but over the thousands of years that it's been on the continent, they've well established themselves, and so they are here to stay. Which I wish I could say wasn't the same for the next group of animals that we're going to go over next week. I told you all that I would eventually be giving you a special presentation on the environmental impacts from invasive species that are occurring in Australia, and I can tell you, Australia seems to be a magnet for invasive species. So be sure to join me next time as we look into some of the catastrophic events that have occurred because of us introducing these animals to the land down under in the first place. But until then, this is Safari Mack, and I'll see you all out there.